screen there, the SIU has been granted an order to freeze the pension benefits of the former Lotteries Commission COO, Philemon Letwaba. Let's get more on this now, and we are joined by Mr. Kaizer Kganyago. Mr. Kganyago, thank you very much for your time. Give us your reasoning around the permission that you have now been granted to freeze the pension of Mr. Letwaba. Take us back to what he's alleged to have done.
Good morning and good morning to your viewers. You would remember that we have a proclamation, which is Proclamation R32 of 2020, which was signed by the President in 2020. We did a search and seizure at that time, I think the beginning of 2021, and we started investigating. In the process of the investigation, one of the people that we found have done something wrong was the former COO, Mr. Letwaba, in that we believe the allegations that are supported by evidence that he has benefited in his personal capacity. While we were busy doing that, you remember he was then suspended and brought back, and then when they was about to be suspended again, then he resigned. Therefore, at that point, we realized that the monies that are held by Liberty Group will be paid to him. That is his pension money. And then we then had to approach the special tribunal to make sure that we then stop the payment of this approximately 2.8 million rand that is in the pension while we lodged the application, which was lodged today. And now we are going to then get into the main issue so that we can then recover the money that we believe have been gained on a personal level by himself and his trusts together with family businesses.
In your statement, Mr. Kganyago, in fact, I have it in front of me here. I'm just going to read one line from it, and you say, Mr. Letwaba allegedly benefited personally from monies received by an NPO, that's a non-profit organization, from the NLC. The SIU investigation also further revealing that Mr. Letwaba allegedly used friends and family businesses, including trusts, to receive monies from the NPOs for the benefit, not just for himself, but the family. Talk us through some of these entities. Aren't those going to be probed? And more importantly, monies clawed back?
No, definitely they are going to be investigated, or some of them have already been investigated. We've got a lot of companies that are either related to him or to his family, and some of those are unbranded properties which benefited from most of the NPOs that got money from the NLC. We've got another one called Musokolodi Water Solution and Drilling. We've got Musokolodi Farming Project, Kaune Wetu, Red Tech, Musokolodi Trust, and Letwaba Family Trust, among others, that benefited from the monies that were supposedly being paid in some instances to rebuild the schools that were banned, and in some instances to build recreational facilities, and ultimately the money went to the NPOs, and within a few days it was then forwarded to one of these companies that we have mentioned.
Mr. Kganyago, you know, this case, it reminds me of another high-profile case, and that's the one that relates to our former health minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize. I think the papers this past weekend coming out suggesting he has made comments reportedly to the effect that you ought to prove it. And it reminds me that your investigations as the SIU are inconclusive. So what you do is perhaps a preparation for a criminal prosecution. How far are you then with these discoveries that you have made from then preparing a solid case that you will ultimately hand over to the NPA?
Yes, we can't say our investigations are inconclusive. We conclude our investigation. The difference is that our mandate is to recover the monies that would have benefited other people unlawfully. And we do that to the end. And that is why this is one example that clearly indicates that at the end we want to recover the money that was lost by the state. Therefore, we then, when we find, in terms of our legislation, when we find criminality, we then give that evidence to the national prosecuting authorities. You would have seen in some of the instances before where they have arrested people. Recently, they've arrested people in Mpumalanga with the licensing scandal that happened there. It is due to the evidence that was given by us. You would have seen the asset forfeiture unit last week went and then trying to transfer the land that was taken from the rural development in Northwest and in Gauteng. And that is also because of the information that they received from the NPA, from the SIU. Therefore, we deal with ours and we conclude them, but in cases where we've got to refer, we refer. There are people who have been disciplined because of the evidence that comes from the SIU.
Mr. Kganyago, let's leave the conversation there. All right. Perhaps as I let you go, I was about to tell the viewers about another story that's quickly developing on our screens, but we're going to, in fact, those visuals have just come on. Mr. Kganyago, let me swiftly let you go.